Station. This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We're ready for the event.
Boston Public Radio. This is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
That's our call. Go ahead. Station, this is Boston.
Station, this is Boston Public Radio. Do you hear us?
Got you loud and clear.
Oh, good.
In any case, that is the voice of Sunita Williams. Zooming around planet Earth. Well, she's up in the International Space Station. I shouldn't say it. Sunny is a NASA astronaut and commander of Expedition 72 aboard the International Space Station, part of the Starliner crew. You all know this, whose original 8-day mission has become an 8-month mission. I don't want to say she's stuck up there, but she's there for a while, and she is stuck talking with us. And Sunny, not only do I want to welcome you, and she asked that we not call her commander, but Sunny, I want you to know when I was in college, I had the exact same hair that you do now. Is that incredible?
Yeah. This is.
I love it. Look at her hair. Oh
Hey, Jim.
God.
Hi, Marjorie.
I love it. Hi there, Sunny.
We are so thrilled to talk to you, and I do love your hair. That's what zero gravity does. You don't have to worry about curls or brushes or anything else, right?
It's got a lot of body, and I like it, and it's a free card to be a little bit wild, so it's good. I like it.
So, Sunny, when we first heard, and I remember a while ago, that you were not coming home in 8 days, that you were going to be coming home in 8 months, I thought, oh my God. But you're a trained person, and I'm not. But I do wonder how it felt watching the Boeing Starliner head back to Earth with you not on it. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, it hits at I think the emotion part of the whole equation, right? So we knew as the summer was progressing on that there was a lot of discussions going on, and you know our fate was going to be decided. So it sort of played out slowly, and the decision finally came, and I think we were ready for it, just because it took a little while to get there and get the data and try to understand exactly what the problems were. But just like you hit on, you know, when you see your ship flying away, it's a little heart-wrenching, and knowing that, you know, that's what we trained to do, that's what we were supposed to do, and that's where we wanted to be in that spacecraft coming home. But, you know, the decision was made, and it was a great decision. We stand by our leadership for asking everybody their opinions and making sure we had all the T's crossed and I's dotted to make sure we made the right decision. And so 8 months, it's okay. We're professional astronauts. We were trained for every contingency to live up here, so we're here.
By the way, it was a huge disclosure, Sunny, by Marjorie a minute ago that she is not an astronaut. All of us thought she was until a couple of minutes ago. Wow, that is incredible. Sunny, I don't know if you can turn around. Not only am I looking at you, but I'm looking at the sky behind you. What do we see behind you through the craft?
Yeah, we're over the Atlantic Ocean, and I sort of wish we were talking about maybe 10 minutes ago. We flew right over northern New England. It was a little cloudy, but I was mentioning to my friends and all the peepers out there, the trees are starting to turn reddish. It's not so green. Cape Cod was clear as a bell. It's where my sister and her kids live, so it was beautiful. But right now we're over the Atlantic, and we'll be coming up on Africa before too long.
We're talking to Commander Sunny Williams. You know, Sunny, I've heard a few interviews with you, and I love when I hear you talk about how much little Sunny Williams cared about science and how much it meant to you. We talk a lot on this show about how, I don't know if it's a movement, but there is a move away from science in large parts of the United States, whether it was COVID, whether it's climate. How much does that worry someone like you, who does what you do and who grew up loving the field?
You know, I'm not really entirely worried, because I think all we can do is show people what science can do. And living up here on the International Space Station, you know, launching people in rockets to space, to go live here, to right below me exercising in space, to talking to you while we're orbiting the planet 17,500 miles an hour. And when we could bring all that back home to people, they realize that there's science behind it all and the importance of it, and I think people want to get involved. So in my mind, the best thing we could do is be good ambassadors, good role models, and get more people involved and wanting to, discover, explore, and that's how we get them back.
So when you're not working up there, you mentioned exercising in space.
She ran a marathon on a treadmill,
Yeah.
by the way, the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, you can run on a treadmill, and then I would assume you have some leisure time. I mean, can you watch like TV, Housewives of New York or something? I mean, what do you do when you're not working?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. We have folks who are behavioral health folks who make sure that, we have communications with our family and friends at home. We also have like some favorite TV shows, particularly when I'm working out. All Creatures Great and Small was one of my favorites that I watch an episode while I'm riding the bike usually. I listen to a bunch of TED Talks when I'm on the ARED, so that's always good. You learn a little bit there. So yeah, there's a lot of other entertainment up here that we have through our computer system and great support people on the ground who make sure we have things that we like. I personally write a journal while I'm up here as in part of my spare time, and look at the view. You take a lot of pictures because you're up here checking out home and then checking out just real cool formations of clouds, of water, ice. It's just so much to do, actually. I've never been bored while I've been on the space station.
How many hours have you engaged in spacewalks, Sonny Williams?
I've been really lucky. On my first flight, we were putting together this amazing space station. So that construction work, as I call it, was 4 spacewalks, and my second flight was a little later, and a couple things broke outside, so we had to go out and do some repairs. So I've had 7 spacewalks, about 50 hours of spacewalking.
Can you describe, and maybe you can't, can you describe the feeling when you leave the spacecraft and we've all seen these incredibly beautiful, striking moments. What does that feel like when you're the person doing it?
Well, we train a lot for these spacewalks, and there's a lot of people who are invested in it because it's very, expensive equipment outside. And if we go outside, we're risking everybody's life, these 2 people's lives to go out there and do that in their own specific spacecraft, their space suits, right? So we want to make sure we get it right. So I think the biggest thing on our minds, each of us, is like, okay, do I know everything that I'm supposed to do? Am I communicating correctly? Am I ready to go and do the job? And I don't want to mess it up. That's the part of the first emotion. But I'll tell you, a 6-hour spacewalk, I think you run through the gamut of every emotion a human can have. You're hot, you're cold, you're crushing it, you're doing everything right, and then something that you didn't expect goes wrong, and then you're beating yourself up because that didn't go right, and then you have to go to the bathroom, and then then it's cold, and it's hot again. You go through the whole thing, and I've noticed that each time that I've come back in, it felt like I was skiing the whole day. Like that after ski feeling when you get done and you just sort of like chill out. It's just sort of every piece of energy just comes out of you at the end of it. But while you're doing it, you're on cue. My mom sort of said, like, it took me a little while to get out the airlock because I was gathering some equipment. She goes, "Did you get stuck in there?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't get stuck in there. I was making sure I had all my stuff together to get ready to go. It's important work, Mom." So it's every emotion I think a human can have.
We should mention your mom and dad are in Falmouth, I believe, right? And you spent many of your many years in Needham, where Sunita L. Williams Elementary School is named after you. You've got a thing going on with the kids there. What's that about?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That was like, I think the hugest honor of my whole life, having an elementary school named after you. Like, whoa, this is nuts. But it was Hillside, and then it moved to an area where it wasn't on a hillside, so it needed a new name. And the superintendent, Dan Goodicants, called me up and said, "Hey, there was a vote, and we decided to have your name on the school. Will you accept it?" And another astronaut friend of mine, Kevin Ford, goes, "I'm not sure you should. Usually those names are people who are dead." But I said, "Well, this is such an amazing honor. Of course, I'll accept it." And Needham is my hometown. That happens to be the Needham Rockets. I'm not sure if you guys know that or not, right? So it's just appropriately named. And then, so I've been back there since, well, I've been there when after the groundbreaking, and then when it opened up, And then I try to go every year just to talk to the kids. There was a big dedication in 2019, and I'm trying to go, and hopefully one day I'll be able to spend a week and give a little space course to maybe the 4th or 5th graders before they graduate from that school.
That is the voice of Commander Sunny Williams. She's zooming in to us from the International Space Station. A lot of people are texting in, Sunny, asking, can you vote? We know the answer, but they don't. Can you, and how do you do it?
Yeah, we actually there's a couple of us up here who will definitely be here, Americans, to vote in November, and so all of us have written in through our postal service to ask for permission to vote, absentee voting, and we actually have a voting booth up here. We're going to put that together, and we will vote, and our votes will come down through our space network, and they'll all be counted. It's it's a civic duty. It's the right thing to do. So yes, we're all going to vote while we're up here.
Now, I was going to ask you about the food. Like, what are you having for lunch today?
So great question. So the food, at one point, someday we'll be able to fly you around and show you everything. But the food our kitchen is pretty awesome. We have hot and temperate water, and also then a refrigerator. So if you want to make cold drinks, you put this temperate water in there, put it in the refrigerator. Hot drinks, you put hot water in, and we have coffee, we have tea, we have cocoa. All sorts of, flavored drinks like lemonade and apple cider. But for lunch, I had chicken strips with salsa and on a tortilla and a side of broccoli au gratin. So the food is pretty good. It's a pretty good selection. All the different types of things: breakfast, dinner, sides, vegetables, soups. So we have a lot of food up here. I will say, since Butch and I have been up here as extra people, we've been eating through a lot of the food. The space station program has been great to make sure that we're all well fed, but we've been eating through a lot of food. But we're getting a resupply in end of October.
I hope so. Do you two like each other? And what happens when you're stuck in one of those things with somebody you don't like? I'm serious. Come on.
An astronaut spat.
I'm serious. How about it?
Astronaut spat.
So, I'll just say this. Butch is from south of the Mason-Dixon line. I'm from north of the Mason-Dixon line. Somehow we get along pretty well together. We're a good duo. We capitalize on each other's strengths and skills. And so, yes, of course, my life depended on him. His life depended on me also to make the right decisions while we were in the Starliner spacecraft. While we're up here, if we end up getting to do a spacewalk, the same thing. Our lives are depending on each other. So, yeah, we trust each other. He's got a great sense of humor. So, and he's a great dad. I know his family, his wife and his 2 daughters. He's just a nice, all-around nice guy. So, yeah, we get along. I'm not sure how it would work if you didn't get along. We spend a lot of time training beforehand, a couple years. For us, it was more like 4 or 5 years. And so that's how you get to know each other. The hot buttons, what the triggers the other guy has. And so you sort of try to avoid those, right? We don't want to instigate conflict. So, yeah, we're pretty symbiotical.
I do the opposite with Marjorie's hot buttons.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think you seem, for everything I read about you, you seem like an incredibly humble person, which I sure as hell would not be if I were you. But so this is a tough question, I think, for someone who has that approach. What do you think you understand better about all of us than we understand about ourselves?
Looking back,
who haven't been where you've been.
Earth.
There must be some things, Sunny Williams.
I think the one thing I really get from being up here is we take life a little too seriously on Earth. We get aggravated with some of the littlest, stupidest things that really we shouldn't, because this is our one big planet. This is our one big place that we live. We don't really know if anybody else lives anywhere else, so we really should all just get along. And it's amazing to me when you look down at some of the areas where there's, potentially some conflict, or even just think back to home about traffic and people getting aggravated. It's so silly, honestly. We all just live on this planet, and we all should just get along. We can find compromise. We can find middle ground if you just stop and listen.
You're getting a lot of applause from the audience here, Sonny Williams.
We have a texter who's watching on YouTube and wants to know how you're affected by solar flares and whether you saw the northern lights, which we, oddly enough, were able to see here
Some
a
of
few
us.
days ago, some of us in Boston. What's the deal there, Sonny?
Well, Jim, why didn't you go see it? I'm curious because it was incredible. And of course we saw it up here. Yeah, it was amazing.
Walk 2 blocks, Sonny. I wasn't going to go there.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you know, we see the the northern lights and the aurora in the southern hemisphere as well when we have solar activity. And just recently, of course, we had this huge coronal CME. But anyway, I can't remember the acronym. Mass ejection. Thank you, Mike. Coronal mass ejection, which caused this amazing aurora. Usually it's green, but we started to see some red not too long ago. But that thing was just incredible. It lit up our night sky with red and green. It was just awesome. And I see the pictures from the ground. I had asked my friends and family to send them this way too, because I wanted to see what you guys were looking at, and just spectacular. So yeah, there are some dangers with all of that, of course. Things that are, there's radiation coming from the sun, right? So we have an increased risk of radiation while we're up here. We try to stay protected as much as we can. The space station has protective coating on it and stuff, but we do get a little bit increased amount of radiation than folks on Earth, of course.
Last thing for me, which really relates to the first thing I asked you about science, and I know you only have a minute left, Sonny Williams. The NASA budget as a percentage of the overall federal budget is lower than it's been in past years. Can you make the case for why NASA and what you and your colleagues do is so important to the people of this country?
Well, you alluded to it in the very beginning. It's just the importance of science, the importance of asking questions, the importance of trying to know and understand things that maybe we don't know now. We don't even know really what questions to ask. And I think when we live up in space or try to build systems and processes for being somewhere other than Earth's gravity, it makes you think outside the box. It makes you think and expand your horizons, ask the questions, and really try to find the answers. And I think it brings all of us together, back to the whole human aspect of our planet. We're all asking those questions. We're all here together, and we all owe each other the courtesy of those answers and those questions.
We'd love to meet you when you and Butch Wilmore are back in early next year. So we hope you'll do that. And we really can't thank you enough for your time.
And
today,
I want to mention, Sonny, that we have a texter who just said, listening to Commander Sonny Williams was amazing. It made me feel proud of her and proud to be an American. So thank you very, very much for being with us. We so much appreciate it. That is great. We have a little gravity-free little stuffed animal there, right?
Safe return, Sonny Williams. Great to meet you. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a wildcat. You guys take care. We'll see you when we get back home.
Station is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you, Boston Public Radio. Please enjoy the fall foliage for all of us here in Houston and on the space station. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.